Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. As usual, life could be a little bit miserable, life could be a little bit dark, but the clocks have gone forward, so we're here to bring you an extra hour of light and an extra hour of sunshine, because an extra hour with my podcast partner is always worth it. He's Stu. Hi Brad, how you doing, Stu?
Not bad. I mean, normally 10 minutes is enough for me, and and then I'm done. But an extra hour is always welcome.
Yeah. Unless, wait, right, but don't forget, if you change the clocks, you obviously an extra. Did we get an extra hour or less for that? I don't know. But don't forget, if your old granny's lying in her deathbed and be told she's going to die within the next few hours and the clocks go forward, you lose an hour of her being alive.
Yeah, that's right. That's how it works in the medical world, I think. Yeah.
Well, according to everyone's favourite president, anyway. It's one of those where it came out and I'm going, is this AI? Is someone done a deep fake on it, or is this a real statement? It's hard to tell anymore with politics.
I've stopped listening to him. So this was him, was it? This was the orange one saying something, right?
Yeah, about they asked him about the changing of the clocks, and he went, "I don't get it. We shouldn't." Right, he actually started saying, "I'm like, you know what? I agree with you, President Donald Trump. I agree with you. We shouldn't have this clock changing thing. It's pathetic. Like in this day and age, we don't need it." And then he went, "Yeah, can you imagine if your nan's there, she's got a few hours to live, and someone changes the clock, and you lose an hour with her?" And I'm like, no, you've ruined it. You've ruined it.
What a moron.
Yeah. But then I'm going, I kind of only caught glimpses of it on social media and stuff like that, because I'm avoiding the news where possible, because it's just Jesus Christ. And I'm just like, is it real? I don't know. But the fact that you can't just immediately go around and go, oh, well, that's clearly some kind of deep fake, that's worrying.
It really is. He's such an idiot that he transcends the ability to find out whether he's real or not. He could entirely be AI, because that's just
If it was Barack Obama who said it, you'd have gone, oh yeah, someone's deep faked that. Yeah, he could be the worst person in the world, Barack Obama. He's not. He's all right. He's sound. He's not perfect. He's done bad crap as well. But if he'd have said it, you'd have gone, oh yeah, that's faked. But the fact is, Trump, you're going, it could be, it might not be. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just crazy. We're living in a crazy time.
Crazy world. Do you know what isn't crazy?
What's that?
Video games, Stu. They're very serious. No whatsoever.
Yeah, you'll say any lie just to make sure that the segue works, won't you?
Oh, yes, I will. Because I'm not playing a game about cursed yo-yos or anything like that. So, video games are realistic and very real and, down to earth.
Yeah, but if Donald Trump told you it existed, would you believe him? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. We put a tariff on it or something. I don't know.
But it does sound intriguing. So what have you been playing this week?
Well, definitely not a Switch 2. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Maybe come to that towards the end, because
I think we can.
The prices. The fact they want to charge you for a tech demo. Oh,
we will come to that. We will definitely come to
that. But what have I been playing? Thankfully, I've been playing some wonderful stuff. First game I've been playing is from the creator of the Stanley Parable and the Beginner's Guide, and that is Wanderstop. Now, you might think, oh, another Stanley Parable, another Beginner's Guide? Oh, no. But why do what you're good at? Why do what people know you for? Why do this surrealist, narrated thing that just takes you this just weird direction? Instead, what we'll do is a cozy shopkeeping game. Why not? Where you manage a tea shop and you make tea for weary travellers, because you was once the world's greatest warrior, but now you've had to settle, not because you want to, you've had to settle for the life of making tea. Because that's what Wanderstop is. Essentially, it's a narrative-driven story, and I think It's what's his name? I had this noted down. I think Davey Reedon, who created both those games. You just know that he can do narrative stories so well in wonderfully creative ways, and this is definitely another one that's got like some really interesting messages behind it. So you take on the role of Alta. Is the character's name. You take a look at it, and you're basically managing a tea shop inside a mystic magical forest type thing, and you get customers who come through. They want to tell you their story. It's a lot. So a lot of the stuff you see in sort of some of the visual novels, like Coffee Talk and things like that. They want to tell you a story, and you have to make their magical teas for them, essentially. But the problem is, Alta does not want to be doing this. She was the world's greatest warrior, and that's what she wants to do. And you kind of get this sense throughout that she doesn't want to be doing this, but she's doing it because it's what she's been tasked with doing. And it gets very mundane in many ways, where people come through, they're telling you about their stories, their adventures, and you've got to go out, you've got to collect things to make your teas with, you've got to do some cleaning up outside and stuff like that. Loads of little mundane tasks, all whilst you then go back, you listen to people's stories, and you get this sense of, why am I doing this? What's my purpose in the world? And I don't know what I expected when I went into this. I kind of went into this very unseen, sight unseen with this one. And I thought it was going to be just like a nice cozy calf type thing, bit like Coffee Talk. But it does go places, and it's really a game about the metaphor of resetting your life. Where you think you know what you're doing with your life, you think you know where you're going with your life, and then for whatever reason you need to complete complete a full reset on things. You need to completely change where you're going, change your outlook, and it's like with the shop, you've got to sort of like manage the growth of the shop as well, because even though you don't want to be there, it's becoming a success. And is it outgrowing you as the demands get harder and harder? And it's just like, it's quite constricted in many ways. Like, you start to feel under pressure as Alta, not you yourself, you're doing it, but you can start to feel the pressure that Alta, I don't know how it's pronounced, sorry, is under. And the sense that she wants to be something she's no longer is. And it's just not good enough for her, just not good enough. And it's like a game that's presented in a way that is meant to be this magical, whimsical tale in a way. Like, the visuals are very cozy, the gameplay is very cozy, the way people speak, it's all like lovely, but there's this underneath where it's just something's bubbling below the surface. You know, you really do expect it from sort of like the people, like the guy behind the Stanley Parable. It's also got from one of the co-creators have Gone Home, Tacoma as well. And again, they've got really good story narrative-driven stuff that doesn't just go with linear. It's a linear game, but not just that linear way of telling the story. You know there's something else going on, and it all comes across here absolutely wonderfully well. And I'm trying to avoid going into detail about where the game goes and what it does, because I think it's something that needs to be experienced by, I think a lot of people are not going to get it. I think they're going to pick it up thinking it's one thing and just go, what is this? But I think if you play it and you know what you've experienced through the Stanley Parable, but don't expect that as the same, you're not expecting that game again, then there's something very, very special here, very eye-opening in many ways. And, we speak about it again. It's something that I think only an indie game can get away with still, this day and age, because it's experimental in so many ways. It's subversive in so many ways that you wouldn't get this from a big publisher. And even though it's like the name behind one of the greatest games ever made, I still don't think it gets off the ground as a concept, because it's somehow bright, beautiful, and full of hope, but dark and making you feel trapped at the same time with the narrative. But I say, just the way it's presented, it's almost a metaphor on, I suppose, almost our Instagram lives, where we present a way on Instagram, but there's so much more going on inside of us, and it's just so well done.
That does sound like a success. It's intriguing as well. Yeah, it's he's got a great pedigree, hasn't he? And I loved the Stanley Parable. It was such a great game. So I am intrigued by this. I think I might have to check it out.
Yep, and I will say, is it as good as the Stanley Parable? As if you go purely as a game, is it as good as the Stanley Parable? No, but that was his Magnus Opus, whichever way around you say it.
Magnum Opus. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's Magnus. I don't know who Magnus is.
Magnus is opium. Yeah.
Magnum Opus. Yeah, that was that for him. So, when you've hit nigh on perfection with your very first game, it's the beginner's guide, I think, is absolutely outstanding. But again, it's not the Stanley Parable. And again, this isn't the Stanley Parable, but it is. What it's done better than the beginner's guide is it's gone in a completely different genre, a completely different direction. So yeah, I think it's wonderful. However, I will caveat, I do think you'll get it's going to be a bit Marmite, I think, for some people. But I say, if you know what to expect, I think you'll get something from this wonderfully well.
Very good. Yeah, I think I'll probably buy that one.
Cool. Yes, do so. I've got to stop selling your games, Stu.
I know, you're bankrupting me, mate.
I know. Did you play Spilled last week?
Yeah, completed it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Lovely, great fun. Yeah. I loved it. Thought it was great. Very charming, and kind of a cozy game. I don't play a lot of those, but the odd one reaches me, and it clicked with me. So yeah, I was really pleased to bought that one.
Cool. But what have you been playing? What real games have you been playing, Stu?
I don't know if it's real compared to Spilled, but it's certainly much more standard. And it's a game called, I think I'm pronouncing this right, INAYAH, Life After Gods.
Don't ask me. I don't know what a Magnus Opus is, or Magnum Opus, whatever it is, open. See, so yeah. Let's say you've said it right.
Let's just pretend. Yeah, we'll go with that. So yeah, basically it's a Metroidvania where you are this character who I could go into detail about the plot if I bothered to pay attention to what the plot was, but I don't know, because to me they all seem to blur into one. They're these post-apocalyptic sort of, everything's been overgrown and taken over by X, something else, and it's the world we know but not quite as we know it, and they all seem to have the same sort of start. So it's essentially that. The way that it immediately stands out is it's all hand drawn and hand animated. Well, I don't know if it's hand animated, but it's all in a sort of classical animation style, and it's very, very beautiful. It's got absolutely wonderful animation. It's got tons of frames, and they're really impactful. The colors are beautiful, and everything about it is gorgeously animated. It's got a great sense of otherness, which you really need in a Metroid kind of game. So it nails that completely. And gameplay wise, it does a few things like really well. So it's got a system where you switch on the fly between 3 weapon types, like a heavy weapon, a gloved weapon, and a blade weapon. So, a little bit kind of like Devil May Cry in that sort of style, as you can do it on the fly. But they have more uses than just attack. They help with traversal in different ways as well. So, like the heavy weapon has this thing where you can grip onto points and swing, and the gloved one has like a thing where you can grab ledges. That won't make any real sense of why they're different until you play the game, but it really does when you're playing the game. Really clear what's needed from which weapon and stuff. And each one of them has an upgrade tree. And it's not roguish at all. It's all classic sort of, progression and developing and, upgrading your stuff. So the combat is decent. It's not exceptional, but it's good. It's solid. The physics are good. The hit reactions that I always go on about, they're pretty decent as well. It's fairly impactful and, it's enjoyable in the combat. As with these games, a lot of kind of repetition with enemies. And if you go back through an area, you often have to refight them. Although in this game, it does actually retain the deaths of enemies unless you've gone way out of that whole area and come back to it, which is nice. So you're not just like go through a door and immediately come back in and everything's respawned. It's not one of those, which is nice. There are a few things that I'm not so enamored by. The backgrounds visuals are quite repetitive, and it makes it quite hard to work out where you are at a glance, which on its own wouldn't be that big of a deal. But there's no mini map on the screen. You have to call up the map, and the map is in 2 parts. So you have to press another button when you're in the main map to look at the zoomed in view, basically, where you're seeing exactly where you are and all the tunnels within your area. So it's kind of a bit funky the way that it does that. I don't really see the need for it. And it really would do with having a more detailed map and also a little mini one that's always on the screen so that you're not just getting lost all the time.
Pretty much, staple of a Metroidvania.
Yeah, well, yeah. And you have to spend so much time on these maps when it's like the core value of these types of games, really. If you look at go back to Symphony of the Night again, but you look at how well that does it, that's the standard by which you have to follow. And the later Metroid games. But yeah, so it looks lovely. It's got some traversal stuff that won't be for everybody with the weapon switching, but I liked it. The fighting's good enough. It's interesting. The plot looks okay. I'm not much of a plot person unless it's embedded in the game, like in Half-Life, where you can just absorb it through the environment. I don't read a lot of text. I don't play games to read a lot of text. It just drives me nuts. But the plot does seem good, so I'll put that down as a win for this one. Yeah, some problems I think with the way that you work yourself out geographically, but it's an interesting game. Looks lovely, and if you're into this sort of thing, I think you'll probably get a lot out of it as well.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It's it looks like a fine game. That was always like, because when you took it, I looked at the Steam page and the visuals and the videos of it, and it just looks like, it looks like all right Metroidvania to me. But as I said, I don't get sometimes why people go, right, we need to stand out from all the other Metroidvanias. What can we do differently? And to then go, let's take out the one thing that was perfected from day one to try and stand out. That just seems a bit odd to me. Because I don't want to be in and out of different maps when I'm playing a Metroidvania. I want to just have a quick glance to the top left or top right of the screen and go, all right, that's where I am. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, it's a design decision that it really needs sort of discussion with the publisher, with the developer about, because you kind of go with the game, right? Okay, we either have a really clear visual style within the game that directs you and shows you where you're going and where you are. So you could have like a level that's green, a level that's red. That's really clear. And you can have entrances and exits kind of illuminated by things that are part of the game. So just like have a shaft of sunlight coming down, whatever, gets rid of the need for a map in 50% of the gameplay, and then you dip into the map when you need a bit more sophistication. Or you can do it the Metroid way, where you've got grid based and it's really straightforward, it's really obvious. Looking at the game itself, you don't know where the bloody hell you are, but you check the map and you know where you are. This doesn't, it seems to fall a little bit between two stools there, and I don't really understand the design decision there. But I mean, it wouldn't be so much of a big deal unless the whole point of Metroidvanias is about being lost in a cavern system and trying to work your way out of it. And, you know, if it was just like an action adventure where it's comparatively linear, you get around that, you've got to kill like X number of creatures to move on to the next stage, that's one thing. But it's not. It's based around a template, and the change to that template hasn't fully worked for me. But it's still a very, you know, it's a very good game. It's very solid. I can't really lambast it because it is very good.
No, but what I think what it does do for me, I'm looking at it, it goes from, right, if you sell it to me, that's on the wish list and I'll pick that up when it hits like a smallish sale or something like that, to now, if it goes in a future Humble Bundle, maybe. It's kind of what it does, just by knowing that I've got so many other Metroidvanias I can still play through, that it needed to be either fully complete with everything or have that something, and it doesn't quite sound like it's just another one, and fine, it's decent, but not enough for me to be going, oh, that's definitely grabbed my attention, unfortunately. So it's, you know, I'm assuming sort of like, for obviously you got it for free as a key, but you had entertainment from it, and I suppose like it has an audience out there, I would assume.
Yeah, I would assume so, and I would hope so. I think it's got enough quality in its own right to deserve to sell well, I would say. Yeah.
Cool, fair enough. Moving on, I've been playing another game because this why we're here, Stu, of course.
It is.
Yes, and do you remember that previously cursed Yoyo I told you about?
I do. It's been plaguing me. I've been desperate to hear about it. Go on.
Well, everyone's dealt with cursed yo-yos. That's why I said gaming realistic, you know, down to earth.
Yeah, relatable. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, everyone knows some kind of weird rabbit deformed thing that has a cursed yo-yo. I had one as a pet. I'm sure you did. Back in the 80s, they were everywhere.
Who didn't? They gave them out at school, didn't they?
Yeah. There was, cursed rabbit yo-yos, and there was white dog poo. You know, everywhere. But no, I've been playing Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo, and they describe it as, are you ready for the first Yo-Yo Mania? And that's pretty much the game. You take on the role of this rabbit who's a family member of the mob, and the mob, there's a shenanigans go on, and the mob boss, who's your, let's say it was your aunt, I can't remember quite fully the start of the story, is her whole soul is kind of taken, and because you returning from the Yo-Yo World Championships, don't ask, even though you're not very good, you come like 100th and something in the Yo-Yo World Championship, but it's your goal to be the Yo-Yo champion. You come back just as the mob, like families, the crime families are fighting, and your aunt gets basically the soul taker, but it goes slightly awry, and her soul ends up in your yo-yo. You escape, and then basically the world goes to crap, and you got to navigate through this world, you and your yo-yo, and fight enemies using your yo-yo and the various different power-ups you can get for it. Because it's a cursed yo-yo, so obviously it can do certain things. So you can just use this yo-yo just to fling it out and attack. But because it's a cursed yo-yo, you can also do things like you can fly it off the end of your string, you can bounce it around the room, and it'll bounce around the room, taking out various numbers of enemies or unreachable enemies and stuff like that. And you get other power-ups that allow you to stay attached to the yo-yo as you need to cross gaps and things like that. You use it to solve various different puzzles, and you get more and more power. And the idea is, you're basically going through as you need to take down loads of different, or I think it's 4 or 5 different big bosses who have taken your like the soul of your family member who's now in your yo-yo. You've got to take them down, and you get through to them, take them down. You get a bit more of the soul back, and eventually to release like your aunt back to the world so she can take over the the family business again. It's ridiculous. There's like 4 different major worlds that you go into, or districts. I'd say it's all set within a city. It's fairly grounded in that way in terms of the world you're in. And it's just like loads of different things you can pick up and mix that change the way the game plays. So, like I said, like you can bounce your yo-yo off of like different objects and stuff like that, and they're kind of like a puzzle. So you'll walk into maybe like one room, and you'll see loads of slightly angled walls. You can kind of throw the yo-yo off of one, and it'll bounce all the way around the room and take out an enemy that it would otherwise be like trying to flank you. It's all like 2D, top down. Well, no, all 2D. Yeah, it's that weird, straight on 2D, but also top down. It's that weird look to it. And it's not big. It's not clever. It's not the best game you'll play. But one thing it has got is good comedy timing. I laughed out loud quite a few times playing it. It's got a ton of heart. You can tell like the developers when they made this had fun with it. They had fun making this game. And it's one of those games that I just played and enjoyed. I just had such a good time with it so far. And it's not out until, was it the end of May? I think the actual release. I've got a really early code for it, so like previewing it. I thought I'm not going to go into too many details, but I'm having so much fun with it that I think when it's fully released and the final game's out, I think people will have a great time because it's just nice to see a game that's just having fun with itself.
Yeah, it's great. It looks like, and this is a compliment, it looks like a Master System game. And which would make sense if the developers are from Brazil, because the Master System is massive in Brazil, wasn't it?
They tied the Master System probably.
Yeah, it looks really good. I was gonna have a look at. I'm gonna add it to my wish list, but I was tempted to buy it, but then I was like, not out for 7 weeks. What the hell? But yeah, no, that's cool. I'll keep that on my radar.
Yeah, so this isn't a review; it's officially a preview. But I said when it's, I think it'll get, when it does eventually come out properly and it's getting some proper reviews, I think it'll do some decent numbers. It's a solid 7.5, sort of 8 out of 10 game in a lot of places, I think, where it'll just be, do you know what? This is fun. You'll play it, move on, but you'll have a grand old time with it at the same time.
Marvelous. Yeah, no, want to definitely keep my eye on.
Before we move on to quickly bashing Nintendo, so I've got a feeling that's going to happen. Another game that I did pick up accidentally because I pressed the wrong button somewhere. I picked up Demolish and Build 3, which is another one of those job simulation type games. And the fact is that I can say this is pretty much all there is to say about it. Yeah, it's another one of those job simulation type games because that's where we are with these now, that they're 10 a penny and they're mechanically fine. You know what you're expecting. You go in, you get jobs to do. This one's about using machinery to knock down houses and stuff and then rebuild them. It's not one of those where it's like fully simulation where everything's realistic. Like you go in, you smash something down, it disappears. You clear the space and you rebuild, and it's fine. I think they know their market, the team behind this, because it's like 15 quid. Not even that, I don't think. Yeah, so it's about 15 quid without a discount. It's currently on sale for like 7 quid. It's a proper budget release. And yeah, it's all right. It's just about all I can say about it. I got it accidentally. I'm not completely angry that I got it accidentally. I've played worse. I've definitely played a lot better, definitely within the genre. I love these sort of games. I love the idea of them. But we need maybe someone to come in and maybe shake them up a little bit now. I've drove enough buses, I've constructed enough buildings, I've torn down enough things. I've arrested people. I've put out fires. I don't know what else there is left to do.
Yeah.
If we're now just going to get a run of just absolutely budget titles of the same thing, then maybe these have had their time, is all I will say. It's not a bad game. If you see it for a couple of quid, I was one of those, like, you know, when you buy the simulation bundle on Humble or something, and it's like in the lowest tier, this will be one of the ones that's in the lowest tier. You'll be like, but you know what? It was sound as a bit of an extra in a bundle. I can't recommend picking it up, but yeah, it's fine. It's not. It exists. Is about all I can say about it. So yeah, let's build, demolish and build free. Sorry, I'll make sure I get the title right at least. It's not good. Just there.
Yeah. That's kind of demolishing and building their reputation a little bit, or just demolishing it. No, I know you're not being mean.
Demolished games as well. So I mean, they've obviously had two of these that have been somewhat successful before.
Yeah.
So you know, and they released a prologue for it as well. You know, I think they're one of those that they're harmless. People that they've made a game they want to make. As I say, the thing is, it's not dreadful. It's not an asset flip game. It's clearly they've made a game, and like the people behind it, they care, but obviously they've not got the budget of like House Flipper or something like that, or Farming Simulator. They've not got that budget, and you can tell. But they've made an inoffensive game. If it makes them a couple of quid and they make a Demolish and Build 4 because they're able to, they're self-published, then do you know what? Good luck to them. I'm not going to hold it against them or anything like that either.
Well, of course, absolutely. Yeah, fair play to them. They've obviously got their market and their niche, so yeah, let them plough that furrow. No pun intended.
Where they can make their money, Stu, just release it on the Nintendo Switch 2 for 80 quid.
Oh, nice segue. Yes. Oh, the Switch 2 announcement. I watched that. I had that on in the background live when I was working, and I was kind of having to like duck my head to the side every minute or two, going, "What? Hey?" So start with the console. So the price. I don't think the price for the console is a problem personally. It's a lot of money, but considering the state of the world, it's an understandable amount. If it turns out to have about the same technical spec as the Steam Deck, then I think it's a reasonable cost. What do you think?
Yes and no. Nintendo, for me, over the past 20 years, has always been a bit more about affordability. On the console side of stuff, whether it was the DS, I remember they made the mistake with the 3DS and overpriced it. And had to slash that price quickly. The Wii was like that. That was just that's how you do the whole mic drop moment that Sony did that one time. But you're right. It's not, the console price isn't the big issue. I get it. For me, it's maybe 50 quid, like the base price, £50 more than would be my, right, I've got to get that money together price. It's just gone over that threshold for me.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is a funny one. And the thing that surprised me was that emphasis on the quality of the screen. I think they could, and far be it for me to say something should be crapper than it is, but I think they could have put a more basic screen in there and got away with it and not really worried.
Yeah, because most of their audience is oh God, I'm going to use this term and I feel sick saying it. Most of their audience is casual.
Yeah.
I don't mean it in that way, but most of it is families or little kids who don't really care about having like the most perfect OLED screen. That's for us. They could, I think, if they wanted to put the good screen in it, just do the two SKUs. Do a OLED type one and an LCD type one, like Steam Deck are doing, like Nintendo themselves did. And it's odd. I think they're going to miss the casual market, I think, with this one, and I don't think it's good. Honestly, I don't think it's going to do the initial numbers that the Switch did or the Wii did or the DS did or anything like that.
Well, I think it's very, it's obviously expensive for people, even if it's justifying that expense. But I think you're right. Should they have looked at making cost cutting in other areas to bring it down by about, an eighth and got it down to like the 350 or even the 325 sort of mark just to bring it out. But even if that's not a problem for people, the price of the games, man, oh my God. So we know that Switch games hold their value. First party Nintendo Switch games, some of the third party, not many of them, but some of them retain their value. But first party ones, if you try and get Mario Odyssey now, still going to cost you upwards of 30 or 40 quid, unless you find somebody very generous. And they're saying they want to charge, 65, 70 quid,
70, 80, 90. I'm very confused at because it's obviously EU-based American dollar prices with tariffs and stuff like that. So it's 100 clear, but we are looking at minimum 70 quid, I reckon, minimum.
Yeah. So if we're looking at like $70, $75 game, is that justifiable, and will the market be found? That's the question. Are we thinking that Nintendo are comfortable enough with the amount of money they're making off selling like a lot of indie games? Because we saw on that presentation that there are 15,000 Switch games. So, 90% of that is going to be indie stuff that you and I play, but we play it on Steam. So do you think they're positioning it to be a Steam Deck killer and be an indie games machine and then buy the odd full price game, or what? What do you think?
I think their problem is, so 15,000 Nintendo Switch games, yes, there's a massive amount of that are indies. The problem is a massive amount of those indies are really, really shitty asset flip type games.
Yeah.
Because I remember before I had to end up selling my original Switch, and I was looking through, you go on it every week and there's like 80 new games, and you're like, where's the actual games? Like, this is like another zombie asset flip clone or something like that, and it just became a mess of a store. So I think, yes, there's 15,000 games, but I honestly reckon that out of those 15,000, there's maybe, and this is going to sound ridiculous saying there's maybe only 4,000 decent games, and then the rest are just absolute trash. But it all depends on their pricing, because how are they going to do their pricing? So a lot of what people liked about the Nintendo Switch came from the likes of like getting your good digital indies, and you got those at decent prices plus a little bit of Switch tax. But then you still had limited run games and that doing their physical copies, because people love a physical copy. So there was that side of it, and they was releasing that at, again, semi-decent price points. Like you're paying a bit over the odds because you're paying for a luxury item of a physical digital game, which actually came on a card and everything. But they are now charging today, let's say 70 and 80, like for UK. It could be more than that. We don't know. Let's say 70 and 80. They're charging 70 quid for digital, 80 quid for physical. The problem is, and they made a big point of this, their physical cards now are just keys. They're not the actual game anymore. The pricing system just makes no sense, especially with how they're positioning it. And I don't see what indies are going to do. I don't see do we know what they're going to charge indies to be on there? What's Hollow Knight going to be? What's Silksong going to be on there? Because to me, Silksong should be like a 20 to 25 pound game based on what Hollow Knight was. And I get it might be more expensive now because it's probably a much, much bigger game. The original was like, I think, 15 quid. So, but I'm expecting maybe 20, 25. But are we going to be seeing that coming out at 70, 80 quid because it's a marquee game for Nintendo? I don't know. And if that comes out, you could kill Hollow Knight, Silksong, by releasing it as a £70 marquee game just because it's on the Switch too. Nothing makes sense with it.
Well, just to go back a little bit. So on the games themselves, they're still releasing games with the game on the cartridge. The thing where it'll just be a key, I think that's only going to be for some games. Like the ones on the Switch where they were just a box and they had a piece of paper inside. But they'll still mostly be like your Zeldas and your Marios are still going to come on real cartridges. with a ROM in them.
All right, fair enough. That I will take back then, but I can't see. But again, someone's going to take advantage of that somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the whole pricing of it is bananas. I mean, I think that they're positioning to. Well, I mean, they've obviously said that for the bigger releases, they're all going to be the same price as a PS5 game, basically, if not a little bit more, which is just crazy to me. But I suppose if they think they can get away with it, they will. But yeah, you're right. It's the positioning of indie games. What is that going to do to the market? I think Silksong's probably going to be about a £35 game everywhere. I might be wrong, but I see that as the price I think they want to charge. So it's going to be expensive compared to the first game on everything, I think.
If Team Cherry want to charge £35 for that game as a standard, fair enough. That's their decision. I get that, right? It's been 4 years in the making or something like that. Something ridiculous. It's obviously a big game. They want to charge £35 because that's what they think the game's worth. Fine, no issue with that. Okay. If they've got to charge upwards of that because Nintendo have said so, that's where I have a problem, because I'm hoping it releases on PC and other consoles as well, because I don't want to start seeing indies especially being bought up by published sort of like corporations now to only release on one system to sell it. That's not what indie is all about for me. I bet there are exclusives, but that's usually down to technical limitations, funding, that they've got to be able to make a game before porting it. Look at Balatro, look at Vampire Survivors, etc., etc. So if it's a Team Cherry decision, at whatever price point that comes out, fine, got no issue with it. But if it's now based on what Nintendo are saying prices of games are on their system, that's where the issues come in. It just seems Nintendo can't do second consoles. You look at it with the DS to the 3DS, technically not a sequel console, but all intents and purposes, it was. You look at the Wii to the Wii U, and they're now making the same mistake, I think, with the Switch 2 from the Switch. Because you kind of go, everything that made the Switch work, you kind of ruining. And no amount of, look, we could turn the Joy-Con into a mouse makes me go, that's all right, then £80. Super. And then they've got the gall to charge for something that basically shows off what their system could do. When Steam put, was it that, I can't even remember what the tech demo was for the Steam Deck, what it was called, but they put that little playroom thing, business operating thing that you did in there that showed off all different Astro's Playroom on the PlayStations, whether it's the VR, the PS5, PS4, that showed up with all given for free. Wii Sports, which was essentially a look what we could do with our system, given for free. And this, they want to charge for basically a showing off what their console could do, and I'm just like,
yeah, they've basically monetized absolutely everything that they can do, from having the console introductory game being having a price tag, to upgrading your old games, for quite a lot of money. Everything, they've just slapped a tax on it, and it's Nintendoing to their absolute nth degree. It's kind of bananas. And in this market where nobody's got any money whatsoever, it seems like a very brave move. You have to think, are they trying to say, like I said, get people in on the platform, and then realize that they're not going to make all that much money on the big releases? Well, not the big releases, because they'll always sell, but the mid releases. So, I mean, they showed a screenshot of Star Wars Outlaws. I mean, do they really think they're going to sell big numbers of that game on a Switch 2 when people already own it on their Xbox or the PlayStation? I mean, come on.
Made with the Wii U, trying to put games that had already been out elsewhere onto the Wii U. And it's like, well, yeah, all right, fine. It's a worse version of a game I've already played.
Yeah, exactly. And Cyberpunk, and there's other examples as well. It's just like, I don't know what they're thinking with that, because they are not going to make them any money. I can imagine them, like you alluded to, like charging a Nintendo tax for indie games on their platform. And if they're going to do that, then I think they've probably looked at the market and realized they can, because the Steam Deck's done really well, but it's got nowhere near the presence that the Switch has. So people must be buying, the likes of Hollow Knight on the Switch rather than anywhere else, and they think they can make their money. But that's just supposition. We'll just have to see. But yeah, it's really strange. It's not. It's one of those that if you're into games like we are, it's kind of not an attractive prospect. If you're a casual, I think the console itself is like, well, yeah, that's the price of a new console. I suppose I'll get it, but we'll probably be completely be put off by the price of games. So it's a really odd one. It's very strange.
It is like the other thing that sort of like really really gets me with it is we talk about sort of like porting games that are already out onto the Switch too. Now, when they did that, like if you go back and look at, they did it with Doom and stuff like that, like Doom 2016, and then like the follow up and that, and the novelty of going, oh my god, look how this plays on a handheld, this big over the top game has been basically get that working on a handheld. The Witcher 3, oh my god, yeah, okay. They've butchered it in many ways graphically, but oh my god, the entire Witcher 3 is on a handheld. That was amazing. That I think for the core gamer, again, sorry, just get rid of that bit of sick always on the core gamer, but they've got that because those sort of people have already picked up Steam Decks. Or another, or a ROG Asus thingy, whatever they're called, like the other one. They've already got those. So you're playing these big, meaty games on Steam Deck, almost as visually appealing as you can play it on the big screen. So I'm currently playing Atomfall on Steam Deck, and it runs perfectly. Runs absolutely perfectly. Now, I don't doubt that's somewhat compromised graphically. I'm probably playing it like medium settings or something like that, so I'm missing out a bit of foliage, whatever. But the optimization they've done on that game is outstanding, Rebellion, and they deserve everything they get for this game. But I've now got that. So if that now releases on a Switch too, that's like I'm not going to be going, oh my god, Atomfall, but I can play it on that because I've done it. And again, your casual gamer, I don't know they're gonna be that bothered by a game like Atomfall on a Switch too, because maybe they've been burned by other big ports down that have been really really poor, or are we still gonna have this cloud gaming thing they tried doing, which was a bust for them? It's at what point do they introduce that, and what are they going to charge for the cloud gaming? They was charging, I think, for like a Plague Tale Requiem the same price for their cloud version, maybe ever so slightly cheaper than you was paying for it on PC brand new, and you still got to pay that full price for it, whereas you can pick it up on PC for a fraction of the cost now on a Steam Deck and play it natively handheld. So I'm not sure what they're trying to position themselves as with these sequel consoles. I think with Nintendo, what if they'd have just gone, look, we are producing, we've realised sort of like the market, we've got nothing maybe at the moment that completely innovates. So what we're doing, we are bringing out basically an evolution now. Microsoft have been doing it, Sony have been doing it. Our next console is an evolution. And everything else stays the same. All your old games work properly, whether it's the SD card or that. We've made an evolution. We can improve the store, etc., etc. We're going to put up the Nintendo Switch Online price by a few quid to maybe cover this. Oh, by the way, GameCube games. Oh, yeah, I don't care now. It's not worth it. I'll just continue to emulate those. There's so many things they could have done because this still doesn't feel like an amazing new console experience. And they've done things like the wheelchair game they've put in, the wheelchair basketball game. Do you know what? That looks really, really cool. Really, really cool. And
Yeah.
I'm glad there's some proper representation there, and I'm glad to see it. But is that £400 worth of new console plus whatever that game costs? Plus on top of that. And if you want that as a family, you've got 2 kids, whatever, you've then got to go and buy, at the very least, a docket, like that's fine, but you've only got to go buy another set of Joy-Cons, right? And it's got to be a specific set of Joy-Cons now, so you can't go, oh, use your old Joy-Cons with it because they're mouse-based. And I think what are they? They're like 40 quid, 60 quid, something like that, Joy-Cons.
Yeah, they're very expensive. Yeah.
And the little holder, they're charging, was it 25 quid for the holder? It's just like, Nintendo, what? I've got very high pitch then. But it's not enough for me to go, if they'd have done this at the same price point as a Switch, couple of quid more for the console, like 350 quid, I think it's reasonable. But with everything else priced similarly to how it was on the Switch, I'd have gone, yes, you're an interesting new game. It's got representation in it. I'm willing to maybe see where that goes with a couple of other games. Whereas now I'm going, well, you've turned this into its own ecosystem, I'd imagine, pretty much, that separates it from the original Switch with everything custom that you need. So you can't use, from what I can tell, and again, if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be corrected, you can't use your old Joy-Cons. There's no statement, can you use your old Pro Controller? There's nothing to say you can use anything that's old on this. We know you can't use the memory cards that you got because you need to reformat them. They've done everything to alienate their previous base. Now, I'm looking at it and I'm still willing to give Nintendo some money. Not for a Switch 2. I'm happy to go and pick up a Switch Lite. And that's where I'm at with them. It's just like, I don't want your new console. Like, as much as I wasn't that overly fussed about the Wii U, it's like, I'll just play Wii games. I really want to play those sort of games still. There's nothing you're selling me for what it looks like an absolutely great console idea, but there's nothing there that's making me go, yes, I'm all in day one. It's do you know what? I'll wait and see. I'll wait until they discount it because they realise they've screwed up like the 3DS and the Wii U.
Yeah, it might be. It's one of those where it might be as little as they've screwed up the price and they walk that back a bit, or it might be a kind of Connect level of messing it up where they have to walk back everything or a lot of it because they're going for a premium price on absolutely everything. So the whole experience is a premium price, like you said, because you can't use old equipment. So it's all treated as if it's completely a brand new system, whereas it's the Switch too. It's it's an iteration of a design. These things should the things they're charging for that you shouldn't charge for, are the things you shouldn't charge for. These things should just work without you having to pay for them extra, or delete old stuff or anything like that. It should be seamless and it should be cost free. Or you can have it as a cheaper model and you have to pay for all the extras. You can't have it both, And they've obviously pointed it to try and do both, be a premium price. And yeah,
if the PS5 Pro's sitting there going, bloody hell,
yeah,
poor fool.
Yeah, and that was a disaster. Completely pointless, and Marky didn't want it. So
that charged me 800 quid just to give that impression.
Oh God, yeah. It is one of those that, if you look at it, that's 25p each time you look. It's bananas. It's I don't know how this is going to land. I think it'll sell loads and loads of units, especially early on, but they'll have to really pull something out.
To be a success overall, I think. That's why I don't think it'll be the disaster. Well, I'm saying that, but again, I don't see where most of their target families in the UK, for example, are going to find the money for it.
Yeah, and the attachment rate is going to kill them as well, isn't it? Because people
field day already, because they now know at that price and the price point of everything else you get, they will go after Nintendo.
Yeah,
they're bringing back the pirate market with this announcement.
Yeah, because kids, parents are going to buy they'll save up and buy the console for their kids, but they're not going to every month hand over 75 quid for a new game. It's just not going to happen. So yeah. But we'll see. I
hope I'm wrong. And when did they do it? It was yesterday, weren't it? It's a shame it wasn't Monday.
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday.
April Fools. Yeah.
That's what it feels
Tuesday,
like.
Yeah. I know. It's bananas. I mean, you see, I'm not really the market because I don't really like first party Nintendo games. There's not many that I've been interested in. Like the last couple I've bought were Mario Wonder and Metroid Dread. And that's even a second party game rather than a first party one. So I only buy the odd one, and I'm not going to buy a Switch 2. Not for many years. I'll get one when they're cheap. So I'm not really the market. But, the people who are the market, even if they're going to be priced out of it, then it's not going to sell very well. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Metroid Dread runs perfectly on a Steam Deck, by the way. Just saying.
Well, that's the thing, you see. I'll get Metroid Prime 4 as long as it's not a crazy price, because that'll play on my original Switch. But if it runs better on PC, then I'm happy to buy the game, but then never bother playing it on the Switch and just pirate it on my PC. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So anyway, I can't wait till 2032, let's say, when they go, we messed up. Here's our new innovative new console, and everyone likes them again.
Yeah, they're a bizarre company, Nintendo. They really do it. They really, one minute they're like, right, our stuff is going to be like cost reduced, and therefore will always be in profit. And then they release something that's a completely left field weirdo like this one, where it's like, does anybody want the chat button? Does anybody want to have a mouse controller, that costs you umpteen pounds? I mean, it's just bizarre. It's very odd.
It's like they don't. It's like they look at like the success of their console and they go, "Wonder why it was a success." I just can't put my finger on it. Let's do it more expensive. Oh, this one's not. I don't know why the cheaper one was a success. Who knows? Why the cheaper one was a success?
It's a mystery, complete mystery. But yeah, we'll have to wrap it up there because I'll have to get back to work.
On a bit. Yeah, you need to get back to work. You can't afford a Switch 2. Jesus.
I know, right? I've got to buy several of those for each family member.
I'm going to go lose another leg so I can afford one.
Yeah, and an arm. Hey. But yeah, so we'll leave it there. But yeah, thanks for listening. If you feel moved to, let us know your thoughts on the Switch 2. You can get hold of us on Blue Sky, which is our primary platform for conversation, as well as Discord. Follow all of our content on all the socials and look at our content on the website as well. Other than that, until next week, stay safe and stay sane.